Hi guys, and let's talk about dog parks today, whether they are good or bad for your dog, why some people, especially dog trainers, tell you not to go to the dog parks and that they are a horrible idea for your dog's behavior. So let's unpack this today, and I have assistant in the back, so if you hear a lot of painting and breathing, that's not me, that's the assistant. I'm a dog trainer and behavior consultant here in San Francisco Bay Area, and my opinion, professional opinion, is that dog parks are neither good or bad. It depends. It depends on your dog. Things like your dog social ability, activity levels, their age, their socialization. It also depends what parks are available in your area and whether you can actually have time and a car to drive to a better dog parks. Not all dog parks are bad. Not all dog parks are good. Not all dogs need a dog park. And even how often you go to the park depends on your dog. So let me tell you a little bit more about this and explain why I have this opinion. First of all, if somebody tells you don't go to the dog parks, they're not good, it makes it worse for your dog. If you have a puppy, don't take them to the dog park. This is absolutely untrue. Let's talk about dogs who probably are not good candidates for a dog park. Number one, elder dogs. So if your dog is past 6-7 years, you have to judge by your dog activity level and also sociability. For example, some dogs, even at 8-year-old, they're very active. For example, you hike a lot, they're physically healthy, they like to play with other dogs, they're good candidates to go to the dog park. If your dog gets older, and this is normal for older dogs to be less interested in other dogs, some older dogs also show more aggression towards other dogs when they bump into them, when they jump into them, then basically when they invade their private space. So if you already notice that your dog is not very big favorite of other dogs, if your dog gets annoyed when other dogs bump into them, maybe in this case dog parks are not the best idea, or you have to choose time and a specific dog park to go in. For example, my dog is a village dog. She has very strict boundaries and she does not like when other dogs bump into her, because this is something that street dogs or village dogs would not do to each other. That's why from day one, technically she was like 5, when we started taking her to dog parks, we realized that she's not a good candidate for dog parks. She never plays with other dogs. She gets annoyed when dogs jump on her or try to roughhouse her before she actually accepts their play. So she's not a good candidate due to her age. She also has a prior injury, so she doesn't like when dogs treat her too rough. And she was never a big fan of playing with other dogs because she was too old for that, and she's just in general not very interested. So the only reason to take her to the dog park to give her off-leash time. If I can give her off-leash time through other means, for example, we go to the beach, we go hiking, we can unleash her when hiking, then we don't need to go to the dog parks. I still want her to socialize with other dogs, but in this case, we go to places where we can hike off-leash and see other dogs. For example, in San Francisco, it's a great place, Fort Funston, and other places where you can take your dog to off-leash them. They can interact with other dogs, but if they don't want interaction, they can just walk away. It's not a confined area, and dogs feel much more relaxed. Other type of dogs who are not good candidates for a dog park, the dogs who have no impulse control, they have behavior issues, they get easily overstimulated, they start playing with a dog and end up fighting with the same dog. They get too rough with other dogs. It doesn't mean that they should not be allowed to play with the dogs or to play around dogs, but certain dog parks may not be a good idea for them, especially if they let them escalate into barking, being frustrated, getting aggressive to other dogs and stuff like this. Reactive dogs. I noticed that people bring dogs to the park who are barking at other dogs. This is not a good idea because, first of all, we don't know why the dog is even barking. Maybe they have fear. Maybe they have some injury when they're trying to bark at other dogs to let them know, stay away from me. And we as, pet guardians, we actually bring them into a dog park, which is kind of weird. So they're trying to stay away from dogs parks, but we're forcing them to go in a dog park. Some dogs can be under-socialized, and bringing them into dog parks when it's always loud and rowdy, dogs are running, might be too much, and they can actually even it can worsen their reactivity. So these guys who have behavior issues, they are not good candidates for a dog park unless you know what you're doing, unless it's part of your training program. I do bring, dog reactive dogs to dog park or in the area, and let's say we stay outside of dog park and we do the training. Or we go there with supervision and we immediately leave if I see something is going wrong. So as a trainer or a pet parent who is doing the training themselves, if you understand or know what you're doing, it's okay. I'm not saying there is no like black and white, don't do it. But if you know that your dog is reactive to other dogs, they bark at other dogs, they get into little fights and stuff like this, maybe it's not a good idea. Or at least ask yourself, what is the reason I'm bringing my dog to the dog park? And it should not be your convenience because I'm just too lazy to walk my dog. It's just easier to go to the dog park. In this case, at least find a time or a dog park that is less, less busy. Let's say if you go to the dog park, wake up super early, I don't know, 7 a.m., 6 a.m., go super early, so at least your dog can, run around, roam free in a dog park before it gets too crowded. Or do it during the day if you work from home and stuff like this. Obviously, I'm not telling you what to do because it's your schedule and you might say like, I'm not going to wake up at 6 a.m. to go take my dog to the dog park. But if you have to take your dog to the dog park and your dog is reactive and stuff like this is the only way to do it. Otherwise, you're just creating a bigger problem that you might regret long term. What are other dogs who are not good candidates for a dog park? I would say if your dog is very fearful or if you have a puppy who is extremely timid, they may not be a good candidate to go to a very like a rowdy, very loud dog park. But it also doesn't mean you should not take them to be around other dogs. If your dog is extremely afraid of other dogs, maybe start with introducing them to few dogs outside of the dog park. Maybe find a playmate. Maybe go into some local communities, talk to other dog owners in your area. There are like always groups, chats, and communities where you can find those people and find playmates for your dog. Maybe a couple of dogs that they get slowly introduced to, and then when they get confident around these dogs, maybe find some other dogs on a walk to let them play with them though before you start bringing them to the dog park, because you have to understand the dog park is very overwhelming, and if your dog is afraid of dogs, sometimes it's not going to help them to overcome the fear. But at the same time, it depends how big is the fear. If they're just timid, a little bit shy, but they're not showing like major anxiety and fear, it's fine to go in a dog park on a slow day, let's say early in the morning, or when it's like a weather is not very good, let's say when it's very like cloudy, maybe almost rainy, foggy. Go on that days when there will be only few people in the dog park. For example, today it's Saturday, we came to the dog park, I don't know what, like around maybe 12 p.m. And it's very like a cold weather. It's very windy. It's like it's summer, but it's like not a nice summer day. So most people just stay at home. And when we came to the dog park, we drove to a specific dog park. It was only a couple of dogs in there. So if I had a fearful dog, it would be much easier for me to navigate. Anyway, so these are a few examples when it's not a good thing to bring the dogs to just any dog park or go to the park on an everyday basis. So now let's talk about the fact, what is a good dog park? So as I said, it's not that dog parks are bad or good. It depends on a particular area. There are a few red flags for me in the dog parks, and I would suggest you to pay attention to those red flags. First one, the size of a dog park. If it's a small fenced area where the dogs are jammed in one spot, they can't, let's say if the dog decides they don't want the interaction, there is nowhere they can escape. If many dogs are cramped in one area, if there's constantly barking, running, it's very loud. It's not a pleasant space to be for you. It's most probably not a pleasant space to be for your dog. A good dog park is a dog park that has lots of space, lots of natural things. If they have trees, maybe some falling logs, different maybe bushes or something like this, this is the best dog park. Because even if your dog wants to avoid some interaction, they can go sniff a bush and pretend hey guys, ignore me because I'm doing something else in here. This is what a good dog park is. Another red flag about dog park, when it's too crowded, especially with dogs who are brought by dog walkers and dog sitters. This is my personal beef that when you go to the dog park and it's not a big dog park and you have three dog walkers in that park, I understand they're trying to do their job, but unfortunately each of the dog walkers can have from 10 to 15 dogs, And those dogs are a tight pack, they bark at each other, they roughhouse because they know each other. This is often creates like a super loud, super, like a crazy energy, and you go in there. And if your dog is very like, there are those types of dogs that, they're so resilient, they don't care if somebody barks, if somebody fights, if something happens, they just do their own business. But those parks are definitely not good for sensitive dogs, anxious dogs, fearful dogs, reactive, or dogs who may get also, like if your dog is hyper already, this type of energy gonna make them even more overstimulated, and then you're gonna deal with issues. Again, if you go to those type of dog parks and your dog has no behavior issues, you're absolutely happy with whatever you have, health-wise, mental-wise, physically, your dog is healthy too, then you do you. But in my opinion, if I go, if let's say if I have to drive to the dog park and I arrive there and I see there are like 15 dogs who are non-stop barking. I think Mocha wants to go in there. And there are a couple of dog parks like that I never go in because during the day, unfortunately, dog walkers bring their dogs there and they just stay there all day. The dogs are constantly barking, and it's just not a good thing for your dog. So either your dog will also learn to join this rough housing, barking at strangers, barking at other dogs, which usually we don't want them to, this is not the type of behavior we want them to learn. And if your dog is a little bit timid, they may actually, will feel the need to, to defend themselves. Because if it's a tight pack of dogs, like I said, 10 dogs barking at your dogs, obviously your dog will become more defensive, maybe will show some aggression, and who knows. So this is usually just not safe, and also like from mental standpoint, it's not good for you because it's just a crazy place where you get, I don't know, at least I get stressed being in a place like this, and I don't want my dog to be in that place when they don't feel safe because there is so much rough housing going on. And one more red flag. This is usually something you would notice inside dog park, and will be a good time to leave a dog park, even if you only stay there for 10 minutes. It's a good time to say like, okay, let's get out of here. Let's just take a walk, or let's go do something else. When you see dogs in a dog park fighting, or, for example, like today we had a situation when there was another dog humping another dog. So a dog was humping female dog. Maybe she was in heat because I saw that other dogs also had too much interest in that dog. Technically, you're not supposed to bring a neutered dog to the dog park if it's a male. Also, you're not supposed to bring opposite dogs in heat, but sometimes maybe pet parents don't know, or maybe it's just something else that happens to the dog. But anyway, so the one dog was for like at least 10-15 minutes following the female dog, constantly humping. And other dogs started joining. And obviously, if that dog is in heat, it could be easily a fight between male dogs. My dog started involving in this, commotion as well. And first I took my dog away. This is another thing, maybe for another video. But if you see your dog is joining a fight or barking at other dogs fighting, just get your dog out of there. First of all, you don't need them to practice this type of behavior. Second, it's absolutely not like you don't need this for anything. There is nothing good in it. It's not a play. It's just something that it's going to bring more problems in future. So I took my dog away one time, second time, and I saw that he gets more and more overstimulated. He starts like jumping too. He started jumping on this male dog. The male dog started responding, and there were like a couple of dogs, sort of like a little commotion around that humping situation. And sometimes like you would see like one dog humps another one in the dog park and then it just stops and dogs go their separate way, nothing happens. But this was just escalating. So my red flag is if there is a little like, accident or incident, like fighting, another dog is bugging a second dog to the point that second dog starts showing aggression, or there's like this like extreme like mounting, humping and stuff like this. If you see it's getting worse and worse and there are more dogs involved, and your dog is very interested to, participate in it as well, this is a good time to leave. And also it's a good red flag to know that anything can happen, because definitely both owners of a male dog don't mind the situation, which is kind of weird. Both of them should interfere, or at least like break up the dogs and take them separate places, and also just maybe leave the area. But none of them, like paid attention to that, or they were comfortable with that. So we decided to leave, because if the situation doesn't stop, this is a red flag for me that this particular park is a great park, but not right now. So that's another thing. If you go to the dog park and you notice like, oh, it's too crowded or too loud or something else, maybe check it another time. the time when people don't go there. Obviously, going to the dog park in a prime time, like right after work, right before work, on the weekend, on a good day, is usually not a good idea and a big red flag. So you heard all this, and you're probably saying like, why do I even need to go in the dog park where there is so much happening there? But I have to tell you, especially if you have a younger dog, the dog who is like, let's say, like 4 or 5 months, and basically they have a vaccination, they're cleared by their veterinarian to go, interact with other dogs. And to the point that your dog is like 3.5, 4 years old, they definitely need a lot of interaction with other dogs. At least twice a week, you should take them to the dog park so they can play, they can exert their energy, they can, like fulfill their social needs. They needs to play, they needs to interact with other dogs and spend time around them and do this off leash because on leash greetings are usually not what the dog wants. So, especially if you have a younger dog, the more time, and especially if it's a quality time, the more time they spend with other dog, the better it is for their mental health, for just in general, they will be more tired at home, they will be more like fulfilled, they will be less bored during the week, and just in general, you're fulfilling something for them. I can give you a good example. When we were stuck during the lockdowns, and we couldn't interact with other people, even we could talk online to them, maybe we could even, like, I don't know, like once in a while talk on the phone, but we were driven nuts by not being able to go visit our relatives, go visit our friends, hang out with our coworkers if we like our coworkers. We didn't like that just for a couple of months, but imagine your dog for years and years, especially when they're super young. Remember yourself as a teenager, and you are not allowed to interact with other teenagers who are your friends. This is not good for mental health of a young dog. This is not good for their physical health because they need to run around, they need to play, and playing fetch is not the same as playing with other dogs because it's just much more movements. They're wrestling, they chasing each other, they like play fighting, they pretending they're like hide and seek and stuff like this. Unfortunately, it's really hard for us to fulfill those needs for the dog, and most people don't even try to fulfill those like playtime for your dog. And also, this is the time when they learn their social manners. For example, my dog approaches another dog and he does a play bow, but the other dog stands there and is like, I'm not interested in you, dude. And my dog has to learn to deal with the frustration that another dog doesn't want to play with them. Maybe they go jump at the second dog, and the second dog growls at them, like, hey, why are you jumping at me? You didn't even ask, if I want to play with you. So my dog has to learn, like, oh, the other dog can actually, snap at me when I am too, rowdy. Or some dogs just ignore me, or some dogs are afraid of me, or some dogs actually gonna play rough with me, but it's okay because we're just playing. So your dog needs to learn all that because especially for a younger puppy, the more like a quality structured playtime and just interaction they spend with other dogs, less likely they will be reactive. I see more and more reactive cases, and at least like for me, like reactive clients are number one, like common situations I get as a dog trainer. And there are so many reactive dogs because people shelter their dogs from interacting with other dogs. And unfortunately, when your dog or your dog comes from a rescue, they were like, due to like circumstances, they were sheltered from interacting with other dogs. So imagine you have as a dog no experience interacting with other dogs, and then everything that the other dogs do to you, you feel like weird about it, or you act weird, or you don't understand how to talk the doggy language and stuff like this. So it's crucial for a dog to go interact with other dogs. Let's say if you have friends who have dogs and you constantly travel with your dog, you visit your friends, you have couple of people when you like can just unleash your dog somewhere and they can interact with each other. So if you can fulfill their socialization, if you can fulfill the playtime and social interaction with other dogs for your dog outside of a dog park, then you don't need a dog park. But if there is no place for you to unleash your dog, let them run, like rough house with other dog, wrestle with dogs, especially if they're interested in that part. If you're not providing them this thing, then the dog park is your option, and at least twice a week go there. You don't need to go there every day, especially if you don't have a good dog park in your area. And I would say better go less often. Let's say instead of going every day, go maybe every other day, but drive to a place or walk to a dog park that's better than the other. Like, as I said, I know a couple of dog parks in San Francisco that I never go in because there's always like some fuckery going on in there. Dogs fighting, there's too much barking, there's too much aggression. Like, and just like dogs are basically, nobody supervises the dogs and they just free to do whatever. Or the dogs park are too small for the amount of dogs that frequent them. So I never go to those dog parks. I always take time to drive to the better one, and this is something I would suggest to do. So it's always worth in the long run. So to answer my question, dog parks are not good or bad. It depends on your dog, whether they are actually interested in social interaction with other dogs, whether they are getting the interaction outside of the dog park or not, and also whether the particular dog park you go to is good or not. Anyway, let me know whether you're pro dog parks or against dog parks, and see you in my next video.
Sunlight